My name is Haras Rafiq and I'm the Managing Director of Quilliam.
Could you tell me briefly about the work of the Quilliam Foundation?
Quilliam Foundation was set up circa 2007-2008 by two people who had been involved in extremism and extremist Islamist organisations such as Hizb ut-Tahrir. And it was set up by people who'd been down the path of being radicalised and actually radicalising others to an Islamist point of view, who now had disavowed the whole ideology and theology and wanted to do something back for society. So Quilliam really focuses and works on two parts of the issue around radicalisation. On the sharp end of radicalisation, where people are being identified as being either extremists, Islamist extremists especially, or showing support or sympathy, we do have people in the organisation that will actually get involved in trying to assess ideologically, then de-radicalise and even rehabilitate. And that's what we call the sharp end of prevent. But the bulk of the work that Quilliam does is really on the softer end, which is really getting involved and engaged in the ideas spectrum and countering the narratives and ideas from an intellectual, ideological, social, emotional and spiritual perspective, so that when youngsters are faced with charismatic recruiters who will tell them that the only way that they can find solutions to their grievances is to become Islamist extremists, they've got the resilience and the ability to push back. And that's what we call the softer end of prevent. But as part of sort of tackling the Islamist extremism, we also believe very much in promoting the ideas and the values that we live in as members of a liberal secular democracy. And we're talking about ideas such as pluralism, respect for all, freedom of speech, the freedom to have faith or no faith. And I think that a lot of the work that we do not only counters some of the ideas but also promotes from a civil liberties and from a freedom of right perspective and sort of all the things that we would believe and support in the kind of society that we'd like to live in.
Thank you. With regards to tackling the issue of radicalisation in schools, do you think any of the major political parties have a clear strategy laid out? I
believe that for the last 5 years, in fact, I know for the last 5 years, because I was actually part of the government task force after 7/7 that came up with, in those days it was called Preventing Violent Extremism, and I actually launched it with the Secretary of State Ruth Kelly in 2006. I believe that for the last 5 years, and I know for the last 5 years, our coalition government has not had a strategy at all to counter the ideas and the narratives and to prevent radicalisation in the first place. Neither has any of the other parties. So for the last 5 years, nobody has had a clear set strategy in how, in schools especially, how do we empower teachers, people, teaching assistants, people who work in schools and other frontline organisations to actually deal with the problems and the thoughts and the views and the ideas that people who, youngsters especially, kids would, where they would support Islamist extremist ideas, they just don't know how to deal with it. And although there was a bill recently that was passed that makes it statutory for teachers to do something if they come across these kind of views and ideas amongst their pupils, which I think is a good thing, there really isn't anything in place yet to say what they should do and how they should react. And I think that's the next step forward.